Hi, this is part 1 of my chess instructional series, and I will be covering the basics of how each piece moves. You probably will know most of this, but I want to start at the same level and work upwards from there. There are 6 pieces in chess: the queen, bishop, knight, rook, king, and pawn, each with their own unique movement. Each piece also has a numerical value assigned to it, giving the general strength of the piece, even though the usefulness of a piece depends on the position in the game. This is important for both beginners and advanced players, as it helps you understand which pieces you should value more. The queen is considered the strongest piece in the game, with a numerical value of 9, and its movement can be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. So I can move to those squares, these squares, and any of these diagonal squares. It is very mobile and is useful for traveling across the board very quickly. So if I wanted to move the queen to any of these dots, if I wanted to move it there, I can move it all the way over there. If I want to move it here, I can move it right there. The rook, worth 5 points, can move horizontally or vertically, and is the second most valuable piece. Rook can move any of those squares and any of these squares. So to move to there, I can move the rook there. And to move to here, I can move the rook all the way over there. The bishop, with a value of 3, can only move diagonally in any direction, and can only stay on the square color that it started on. So as you can see, this bishop starts on dark colored squares, so can only move on dark colored squares for the rest of the game in any diagonal direction. So bishop can move to this square, and then it can move to this square. The knight, worth 3 points as well, has a very tricky movement. It moves in the L shape, defined as 2 arrows in one direction and 1 arrow in another direction, either of those directions. So the full movement looks like that. Knights, all pieces cannot move over other pieces, and are blocked if there are pieces in their way, except for the knight. The knight can jump over any piece, and is useful in getting out of tight situations. So the knight can move to any one of these squares. If I want to move there, you can see I move there and then there. If I want to move there, I could move there, and you can see I moved in an L shape. The king is the piece that you're trying to protect throughout the game, and even though it does have a numerical value, I will not say it to reduce confusion. It can only move one square in any direction, and is usually only important near the end of the game, where there are less pieces on the board. King can move to any of those squares, so it can move here, and it can move there, and maybe here. Finally, the pawn, which is worth 1 point. The pawn can move forwards 2 or 1 squares on its first move. So you can see these two pawns are on their first move. So this pawn can move forward 2 squares, or this pawn can move forward 1 square on its first move. The pawn can move only 1 square at a time after that. So you see this pawn is past its first move, so it can only move 1 square at a time. The pawn also has a special property known as promoting. When the pawn gets all the way to the end of the board, then it can change it to any piece that you'd like. So you see it goes there, and then you can change it to a queen, or maybe a rook, or maybe a knight. Usually in a game, a display pops up where it shows you any piece you want to choose, and you can click on it. But since I'm not in a game, I'll just show you it that way. I hope you understood those concepts, and please let me know if you have any questions, by email or in person. Bye.